Today is the 75th day of Melinda's Juice Feast, so we're very excited. Today we took a break and we went to Michael Moore's film, Capitalism, A Love Affair, and it was I thought it was quite moving. Everybody should see that film. Of course, we know that the Bush administration was the most corrupt administration in the history of the country. I mean, it really outdid even Ronald Reagan's administration. We have a friend in Washington who told us about just how completely the Bush administration dismantled every agency of the federal government that had any role whatsoever in protecting consumer rights, environmental protection, you name it. It was dismantled under his administration. And the movie was very personal because he brought in the change in his family from the life he led as a kid, living in Flint, Michigan, and he even had his father, who's now quite elderly, come in later on in the film, and I thought it was very well done. And it brought back memories because I came to this country when America was a different place. America was the land of the free, the home of the brave. It was really a democracy. It had social welfare programs that were for the people, by the people. It had a strong union force. Everything that I can imagine that was good in those days has been dismantled, and it's not the same country. Our government has become corrupt. Congress has lost its sanity, and that's part of the reason, not part, but that is the reason why the economy crashed, because thanks to Greenspan and others of that ilk, capitalism was deregulated, and nothing but tragedies have come from that. So everyone should see that movie, and I highly, highly recommend it. And we'll put our keywords for this video. We'll make sure we'll put Michael Moore's film in, so that anyone who has an interest should know that this is a must-see film.
So what were some of the points that he made that particularly impressed you?
Well, there were several things. He started out with the foreclosure issue, just how many people have lost their homes, one person every 7.5 seconds, and that this was brought out systematically by the money vultures. It began with Greenspan telling the American public that their home was a bank, that they could just tap into their equity, and people borrowed against their homes in order to make huge fortunes for the banks. And
didn't read the small print.
And didn't read the small print, like how the interest rates could be raised and so on. And toward the end, he showed examples of people who revolted and refused to move out of their homes, and even one, Many times the mortgage companies don't even keep copies of the mortgage, and when they go to court, they have no leg to stand on. But that's been a huge tragedy. He spoke about factories that once were thriving and now have been dismantled, and he gave examples in his hometown where his father used to work.
What about those peasant deaths?
Yes, we'll get to that, Melinda, peasant deaths. But there was one factory, a windows and doors factory in Republic Windows and Doors, that the entire company, which had a union, was fired in one day and was not paid the benefits, the pensions, you name it. And they also had a sit-in and ultimately won their rights. But many of these things, I've always said for years that you cannot build a society on purely mathematical relationships, on purely monetary relationships, because the minute, the day, the minute, the second that the money isn't flowing, the entire organization falls apart. That's not building a society on bedrock. That's building a society on quicksand, and we've done that. And it spoke about the robbery of the American people when they took $700 billion out of the coffers, creating a systematic series of lies about Wall Street being on the verge of disintegrating. And it was a very well orchestrated fear campaign that led to the robbery of the American coffers with no oversight whatsoever, with no recourse. It's just so tragic when you think about what's going on. They gave the example, they had a vulture person from Florida who was in the business of being a vulture when people lose their homes. They showed how companies used insurance policies on their employees as a profit center. It's called, what was it called? Peasant
deaths.
Peasant deaths, and sometimes making as much as $5 million on the death of an employee. And if it was a woman who's expected to live longer and who dies at a young age, that's a real bonanza because you can get paid out more.
But the family never received anything.
And the family doesn't receive a dime.
They don't even know they've taken the policy out of them.
The family may actually go bankrupt because they've had medical bills and they've had a funeral to pay for. So these are some of the dark sides of capitalism that we have to deal with. It's kind of, you know, I've been in a kind of revolting mood myself, revolting mostly against environmental destruction, revolting against the medical system that systematically lies to the American public and to the world, and especially with this latest vaccine ploy to make billions of dollars for the pharmaceutical companies. Natural News just had a wonderful expose article that came out today going systematically through the history of this vaccine hoax and how the science that supposedly the death rate of those who get vaccines is 50% down. All of that was based on junk science, and how doctors who tried to challenge that mythology, that religion, risk losing their jobs, losing their professional status, but it is nothing but junk science. And we are lied to. In a couple of years where people had, they made the wrong strains for what eventually became an influenza epidemic, the death rate was without an effective vaccine on the market, was actually no higher, which shows you that when the vaccine is available, compared to when the vaccine is available, and when it wasn't, there was no change in the death rate. So it's all a hoax. It's all there to lie to you, to make money. And it's tragic, but that's how our world is. All right, we have, to sum it up, this is not really, I hate being negative because I think there's so much positive we can do. And I want to inspire people really to try to create a different kind of world. And we're making progress here, creating a Raw Wisdom community, which is a community where people work together to help each other, to work on a different principle of cooperation rather than competition, of love and peace and joy. Tomorrow is going to be a milestone event. We're having our usual monthly potlucks, but with my 60th birthday. And we're going to celebrate not only my longevity here on this planet, but also, I think, the common vision we all have to make this a better world. And we're going to try to transition this year and make more and more of that happen. Just as we have this year put on a solar hot water on our roof and started a very ecological worm farm for composting. We're going to do some big and better things that are coming down the pike, and we'll keep you posted. So thanks for tuning in on this glorious 75th day of Melinda's Juice Feast. She only has, how many more days left? 17 more days left, and we're cheering for her. Here she is. There she is, the Wonder Lady. And so have a nice evening, or a nice day, or a nice morning, whenever you're listening. We all send everyone on the stratospheres of the webospheres good tidings. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you tomorrow.